The philosopher that I have chosen to do is Soren Kierkegaard. I have read and analyzed chapter 1 of his book, The Sickness Unto Death, through an existentialist point of view. I'd like to start off with a quote. Is despair an advantage or a drawback? Regarded in a purely dialectical way, it is both. If one were to stick to the abstract notion of despair, without thinking of any concrete despairer, one might say that it is an immense advantage. The possibility of this sickness is man's advantage over the beast, and this advantage distinguishes him far more essentially than the erect posture, for it implies the infinite erectness or loftiness of being spirit. What Kierkegaard is saying here is that despair can be good or bad. It depends on how the person reacts to it. If this is true, then there are an infinite amount of ways someone can react to despair. A human's nature is chosen through life choices. If so, then there are many things someone could have seen throughout their life, even if they do not remember it, that could affect them. If they do not remember it, it could still be in their subconscious mind waiting to be remembered. When Kierkegaard says that the sickness is man's advantage over the beast, he's talking about someone's inner demons. Existentialism states that personal responsibility and discipline is crucial. If the beast within man is interfering with their life, and they are not able to control it, then they are doomed. In this case, doom means unable to have true free will, because they are limited. Existentialism requires true free will, and if it is not present, then it must be gained. Existentialism also states that a person is best when they are struggling against their individual nature and fighting for life. Because of this, Kierkegaard is right in saying that despair can be a good thing. If we are in a bad situation that we cannot get out of, despair can open our eyes and make us see what we need to see. But Kierkegaard also implies that you are in despair from the day you are born until the day you die. If this is true, then it means that all humans have complete free will. Though existentialism says that not all things are rational, making it possible to not have true free will, even while struggling against their true nature. This is why existentialism is stronger when one is fighting for their life. The despair throughout your life can be related to a daily vitamin. You have it every day to help you a little, but when you get very sick, a little vitamin will not help you. You need a real medicine. You need stronger despair. But he also warns of a stronger, more dangerous despair. First, we must know that despair is not in the mind, but in the soul. Knowing this, we can understand the following quote. If one might die of despair as one dies of a sickness, then the eternal in him, the self, must be capable of dying in the same sense that the body dies of sickness. But this is an impossibility. He is saying that because despair is in the soul, despair alone cannot kill the body. But furthermore, the death of the body does not end despair. I want to talk about another thing quickly. Kierkegaard is a believer in God, and his works reflect that. I believe that he says that if the body dies, the soul doesn't, is because in Christianity, it is a sin to commit suicide. What he is saying is that if your body dies while in despair, then your soul will be in despair for all of time. This is likely why many people feel the need to come to peace with situations and repent in their final hours. It is to die without despair. This could be what heaven is a symbol for. If we truly have lived our entire lives in despair, a life without despair is something that none of us can truly imagine, and therefore must be better than our current lives. To finish this point off, I'd like to mention that existentialism does not follow the rules of God. It believes that society is unnatural, and its traditional religious and secular rules are arbitrary. If so, then it would open up human nature to be freer, allowing them to sin if they choose without punishment. Moving on, if despair lasts until death, and death of the spirit is not possible in our physical reality, then is it not possible that our subconscious is a form of us living in a non-physical reality, and both think of each other as their own subconscious? If so, then would this not justify existentialism's belief that not everything is rational? And maybe it would also explain their belief that worldly desire is futile. Could the beast that all of man has within themselves not be our spiritual self, enduring despair, passing it on to us, and the only thing that we know is that we need money and power to be happy? Continuing with the analyzation, Kierkegaard states that there are three forms of despair: not being conscious of having a self, not willing to be oneself, but also despair at willing to be oneself. I believe that saying self, he is implying the spiritual self. If so, then a majority of people would not be conscious of having a self. This would make the despair that they feel a lot more powerful. If we do not know what we are looking for, then how can we stop it from affecting our free will? The second is not willing to be oneself. Seen in an existentialist way, this would be dangerous to ourselves. If we do not accept this despair, then how are we to be our personal best if we do not allow ourselves to grow? Your body is the same way. If you stay in a bubble for your whole life, never get exposed to germs, then the day that you finally come out, something as little as a common cold could kill you. Existentialism believes that the strongest defense is a good offense. Finally, there is the one that despairs being themselves. If the person chooses this, though the self may be constantly getting stronger, existentialism says that the decisions are not without stress and consequences, meaning that despair in your soul will keep on increasing and it will be with you for the rest of your life. I would like to end off with a quote that means we have a great gift, but that this gift is not without its burdens. And thus it is eternity must act, because to have a self, to be a self, is the greatest concession made to man, but at the same time, it is eternity's demand upon him.